he ends up campaigning on misogynistic messaging that turns off a lot of voters, obviously female voters, who overwhelmingly support the Democratic candidate anyway. But again, it comes down to independent voters. And if all you are offering the electorate is negativity, and you're just leaning into that misogyny and nothing more, well, it's gonna hurt your campaigning. And I think that's the reason why he ended up deleting that Truth Social post. Right?
Yeah,
he doesn't usually do that. He usually refuses to apologize, refuses to admit he's ever wrong about anything. Now, to be sure, he hasn't apologized for it, but he did delete it.
Yeah, that's unprecedented. That means, man, I'm positive that's gonna hurt me in the polls, even though that's my real opinion. All right, I'll withdraw it because that would hurt the thing that he loves most, which is himself.
Donald Trump is at it again. He's posting misogynistic memes against Kamala Harris, because this is all that Donald Trump has. He's a misogynist, he's racist, and despite so many of the people who are MAGA Trump surrogates trying to get him to focus on issues, Trump just can't do it. This is the guy that he is. He's going to continue to say misogynistic things about Kamala Harris, say racist things about Kamala Harris, and post misogynistic and racist things, and he's going to fall further and further behind. Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks broke down this latest example of misogyny from Donald Trump. We're going to take a look at that, what they had to say. I'll chime in here and there with my own thoughts about it. Let's check this out.
Why was Donald Trump over the last 36 hours on his social media reposting slogans from QAnon and reposting misogynistic, sexist content about Vice President Harris?
Look, I don't think your viewers at home are concerned about social media posts. I think they are concerned with the news of the day. And the news of the day is that a Venezuelan illegal immigrant crime gang has taken over a hotel in rural Colorado because of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's open border policies. The news of the day is that, again, gasoline prices are 50% higher today than they were under Donald Trump.
That was Caroline Leavitt, and her deflection and unwillingness to answer a simple question is something I'm not in favor of. I don't want to take it, I want to leave it. But let's talk about what sparked the question in the first place. Look, since Kamala Harris announced that she was running for the Oval Office, Donald Trump and his supporters have made some pretty terrible misogynistic remarks about her, okay? And recently, Trump decided to post something or repost something on Truth Social that he later deleted, probably because of the backlash that he was getting. So it had to do with sexist remarks alleging that Harris got her start in politics by dating a longtime California politician, Willie Brown. And Trump echoed these allegations by sharing on Truth Social a screenshot of a tweet from X showing Harris and Clinton standing together in a picture with the caption, "Funny how blowjobs impacted both their careers differently." And if you're wondering what that looked like, this was the now deleted post on Truth Social, okay? So, of course, his spokesperson's asked about it, and she's having some difficulty answering that question because it's a difficult question to answer. I mean, what he's putting out there is not popular with the voters that he needs to attract the most, independent voters.
Yeah, he can't help himself. So what kind of lunatic reposts that when they're in the middle of a presidential campaign? And by the way, you're the one who killed Roe, and Roe was 70% popular. So now, just to insult women more, you make jokes about how the only way they can get ahead in the world is if they sleep their way to the top. I'm not sure I know anything that would anger women more, other than taking away their reproductive rights, which you also did, right? So it's the world's dumbest strategy, but he can't help himself because that's who he is. He thinks women are for sex. They're not for anything else. And so he's like, oh yeah, blowjobs. And he's also a child. He never got more emotionally mature than when he was in 5th grade. He just never matured past that. So he's like, oral sex, all women, yeah, that's the only way they get ahead. And then when it blows up on him, he's like, oh wow. And that was so bad, he deletes it. But they're all over television defending it.
So you have Kamala Harris now running against him, and she's been pretty successful in latching onto an economic populist message, which isn't only good because it's a popular way of campaigning among the electorate. It's successful because it kind of snatches something away from Donald Trump, right? It robs Donald Trump of his faux populist messaging. And so then what does he have left to campaign on? So now let's go back to the CNN interview featuring a Trump spokesperson. This is Caroline Leavitt. Let's hear what she had to say.
And before we get into that, I just want to say that, again, this is who Donald Trump is. He can't help doing this. And the result of all of this, so, all of the misogyny that we have coming from Trump and from the Republican Party in general, and them wanting to ban abortion, Roe v. Wade getting overturned. There was a story that I saw just today. Voter registrations among young black women are up 175% compared to the same time in 2020. So young black women, obviously, apparently, are excited about Kamala Harris. They're also probably turning out to vote against Donald Trump. And you have a situation where young people in general, young women in general, are overwhelmingly going to go for Kamala Harris because of the misogyny and the Republicans' war on women. And you have J.D. Vance, where every day they're digging up a new comment from him talking about single women destroying the country, essentially. The most recent one to come out was that women without children shouldn't be teachers. You're going to have mass numbers of women, particularly young women, turning out to vote against Donald Trump and for Kamala Harris. So all of this misogyny is just digging the hole deeper and deeper for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur are exactly correct about that.
Today than they were under Donald Trump. The news of the day as a new mother.
Do you know why he posted that? Do you know why he reposted that content?
I haven't been able to talk to President Trump yet this morning because he is
Donald Trump reposted that content because he's a moron.
Calling into media interviews, unlike Kamala Harris, who has been avoiding the press for more than 40 days. And we're excited that CNN finally has the opportunity to question Kamala Harris tonight about her disastrous record.
But I do want to ask you again, the social media content reposted by the Republican nominee in the last 36 hours, how do you explain it? How do you explain why he is reposting content from QAnon and this misogynistic content?
Again, I will say I have not spoken to President Trump about that content this morning, and I don't think Americans are concerned with social media posts. But you said misogynistic. I assume you're also going to say that the posts were demeaning to women. I think what's demeaning to women is what has been allowed to happen over the last 4 years. I think what's demeaning to women is the fact that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are allowing an invasion of illegal criminals into our country, many of whom have proven to be rapists and murderers. I think what's demeaning to women like Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungray and Rachel Morin is the fact that they are no longer with us because of the policies of this administration. And that is what voters and your viewers care about, John.
If you look at the demographics supporting Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, all of the fear mongering that she engaged in apparently has not convinced the majority of eligible female voters to support Trump over Kamala Harris. But look, I mean, she's in a tough spot. She has to defend the indefensible, right? And so good luck with your role as a spokesperson for Donald Trump as he continues to double down in this pretty gross messaging.
Yeah, so look, I haven't been able to talk to him as a standard defense for, I don't know why he did that. So, and I think Jason Miller used it as well, but at least she's trying to deflect. There's Jesse Waters and all those other guys out there doubling down, tripling down.
Because Jesse Waters is a misogynist just like Trump. I mean, Cenk Uygur knows this.
Like, yeah, what are women good for, man? Just sex. Oh, yeah, right, like you could run the country. She's afraid, she's weak, she's a woman, etc. So go ahead, give away millions of votes, you schmucks. Like, I don't want to get in your way. So you could tell because Trump took it down. Now, but I don't want to gloss over the other thing, which is several QAnon posts that he reposted, including one of Trump holding a Q+ sign, okay? So I don't know if the picture is real or Photoshop, but he reposted it like, yay.
QAnon is still around, huh?
Yeah, apparently it's around, and Trump is still in favor of it. It's so depressing for the country that we're we're having a debate about whether we should elect a literal lunatic.
What's depressing is that currently, and obviously this could change, the election is a tie.
It's tied. It's tied where we can't. But part of the reason is, or a giant part of the reason is media, right? But hold for what I mean. So yes, right-wing media has convinced 30% of the country that everything Trump says is true. Oh yeah, of course the children, they make such great masks. Whatever, they just aid and abet this, and those people live in that bubble, and I know it sounds impossible to the rest of you, right? But they genuinely believe these things, right? And you cannot move them off of it. So now, but mainstream media is also massively guilty. Why? Because they lied in the opposite direction for so long that a huge portion of the country said, I'm not listening to them at all anymore. And I don't think anything's objective. And I don't know what truth is anymore. And they became untethered from reality. Because mainstream media would tell you, oh yeah, politicians are honest. The donors have no effect on policy. Oh yeah, we need to spend 10 times more than anyone else on defense. Oh no, we can't afford universal health care or paid family leave that every other country has. So all these giant lies, lie on top of lie, until people were like, I don't know, these guys on mainstream media are total liars. So
Cenk Uygur is correct in what he's saying here, but also one thing that he leaves out here is the media now, the MAGA people, the right wingers, they don't believe this. But the media has done everything the mainstream media, I'm talking CNN and the likes, the New York Times, they've done everything they could to try to normalize Donald Trump and to say both sides are equally bad. That's, both sides do it, both sides are wrong. It has been their mantra for years and years and years. And they've tried to act like the Republican Party, led by Donald Trump, is just a normal party now when they're completely insane. And like Cenk Uygur says, you have a lunatic at the head. And with a lot of help from the media, we're going to have another close election. I think Kamala Harris is going to win because I think all of this misogyny is really pushing Kamala Harris forward and pushing Donald Trump back. And the Democrats are finally leaning into some actual economic populism instead of, as Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur say, the fake populism of Donald Trump. One thing that when Kamala Harris came out and said that they're going to try to do something about food companies gouging people and we're all paying so much money for our food at the grocery store, the mainstream media hated that. And of course, all the corporations and the CEOs hate that. But the people of the country like that. They're not looking at that as communism. Most people are saying, yeah, we hate these big corporations because all they do is screw us over. Do something about the prices, which I don't really believe that Kamala Harris's administration will actually do anything about the prices. But it's good politics to talk about that because it's popular among most people. The Republicans' policies and Donald Trump's policies are not popular among the majority of people.
So I guess the opposite is true, but the opposite isn't true. The truth is actually not in either one of those areas. Both sides are doing propaganda. Mainstream media does it for corporations. Right-wing media does it in an ironic way to create culture wars to also help corporations. Because they all agree the corporations should have lower taxes and deregulation. Meanwhile, we're stuck with a guy who's a lunatic that half the country believes, and then nobody's calling out corporate Democrats or Republicans on how they're robbing the middle class to pay off their rich donors.
So what do you think? Do you agree with Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur here about Donald Trump's misogyny? I agree with them that I think this is just who he is. He's a misogynist, he's a racist, and this campaign is going to continue like this for Donald Trump, no matter what the surrogates and pundits and the likes, the ones like Nikki Haley, who actually have some sense, who are saying, do not attack her on race and the fact that she's a woman because this is hurting you. Donald Trump, he's not capable of doing that. He's going to keep on the same way that he is, and we're going to have a very clear distinction in this election between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. But do you agree with Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur about Donald Trump here? Do you think they're right? Or do you think there's nothing wrong with Donald Trump tweeting out these things? Make sure to leave me a comment. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. This channel is growing really quickly. I want it to continue to grow. Chris on Culture, I've gotten a lot of subscribers in the last 30 days or so. I want to keep those numbers going up so I can bring out more content like this. This is Chris on Culture. I will see you in the next one.